Hey, what is up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I will be breaking down my funded futures and all of its features it has to offer, and also giving you my honest opinion of my funded futures before their official launch date, all the way to this very moment. So the first thing that we are going to cover, of course, is the table of contents and what you could expect from today's video. And jumping into the very first slide is going to be the company background. So if you didn't know, they were actually just established in the middle of summer of 2023, so not even 1 year yet. But I will have to say that there was actually a few months prior to the official launch date of just so much hype and build up around this company that everyone was starting to partake, from different competitors in the space all the way to the traders that were loyal to certain competitors, and then other traders that are trying to back up my funded futures from the forex space. So there was a lot of back and forth that was happening, a lot of just fun and drama and games and just all this good stuff. And when the actual launch date occurred, it just wasn't what people were anticipating for, right? Like, of course, there was a lot of great positivity from it, and just as equally, there was some constructive criticism and some negativity and some feedback. So, of course, I am going to talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the video, so make sure you stick on by. But let's go ahead and read the mission statement of my funded futures. So MFFU isn't just another futures prop firm. We're a thriving community that champions growth, consistency, and profitability. Our mission to empower traders like you with the tools, insights, and supports you need to thrive in the futures market. I think that's a beautifully said and well-written mission statement. You can actually find it on their website. So far, I feel like they are upholding that statement. Now, there's two different plans that they're currently offering. We have the starter plan and the expert plan. On the right-hand side, you're actually able to see more of a clearer distinction between the two. So feel free to pause the screen or read through this as I'm talking, but I would highly recommend it so you're able to really understand the differences between the two. But to give you the overarching overview between the two is that the starter plan is really geared more towards the newcomers in the market to help them build a foundation, build upon the system, and there's definitely a bit more restrictions and limitations with the starter plan when it comes to the type of rules available and the payouts, and then even the funded account itself. Now, with the expert plan, there's definitely more flexibility with it entirely. The only main thing you have to be concerned about is just your end of day drawdown for the expert plan. That's about it. Everything else is just, again, very flexible. It's kind of free willy. And I think the expert plan overall is just a much better plan compared to the starter. The starter is similar to the other competitor accounts out there. It's also similar to Top Step's account, which we are going to cover in just a moment. But it's not that they're bad. I think the starter plans are great. I just prefer for my funded futures the expert plans just because the overall package included with it is just a little bit more appealing, and that is why it's a little bit more of a premium to get it. Now, in order to pass the eval, of course, you just got to reach the profit target. You have to respect the end of day drawdown, which basically is updated at the end of the trading session. And then there's no consistency rules for the starter or expert plan during the evaluation phase. Only in the starter plan funded account is there a consistency rule you have to worry about. And then lastly, you can literally get funded within the same day. You only need one minimum trading day to become a funded trader with MFFU. So if you were to buy an account today and you just so happen to reach the profit target, then you would become a funded trader. So, I mean, that's crazy. The next thing is going to be the reset fee. So for the starter plan, it's $100 flat. It does not matter what account size you have. But then for the expert plan, the reset fee is going to be the same as whatever the price was for your specific account size. So they offer the 50K, 100K, and the 150K accounts. And if we look at the reset fees for the expert plan, it would be 165, 265, or 360 or 375. I know right now they are offering a 24% deal that ends on January 31st, and that's 24% off the expert, the starter, or even any resets that you want. So that's going to definitely save you some money. Now, with the amount of accounts you can have, it's going to be unlimited amounts for evaluations, but then for your sim funded, where you can actually take payouts, you can get up to 3, and then you are able to qualify for a live account, of course, given that you're able to show consistency, build profits, and that kind of stuff. One of the most recent influencers in the trading space, Patrick Wheeling, actually just converted into a live account with MFFU, took out a $25,000 payout. The other rest went into his live account. So that in itself is proof in pudding that MFFU does move people to live accounts. I do want to do a quick shout out about the 30K static account. It's not listed on the website anymore. It was actually a very short promotion available in the beginning of January by the company. And I do believe that the 30K static account was one of the biggest W's that MFFU has had so far. And the reason I say that is because if you actually take the time to evaluate what was included in the parameters of the 30K static account and you compare it to the other competitors out there, the pricing point, it's all inclusive, so it was well played. And then you have the amount of drawdown that was available. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's $1,500, which is quite a lot for a 30K static, and it's more than other competitors out there for a better price. And also the payout policy with MFFU is just a little bit better in terms of how it works. We are going to talk about that in just a short moment, but just the overall package itself was such a great pricing point and a great deal that it made a lot of sense. So big shout out to MFFU for creating that 30K static. Hopefully it comes around again, and if it does, I would recommend for you to at least read about it, do some comparisons with other competitors, and if you feel like it fits for you, then hey, maybe you can hop on it too. All right, so let's go and dive more into the starter plan. So with the starter plan, there's also the scaling plan you have to worry about. Now the scaling plan, here's a nice visual to break it down. But basically, the more money and profits you have in your account, the more contracts you can use. The less profits you have, the less contracts you can use. Now with the starter plans also, the profit targets, as I mentioned earlier, the entire plan itself is quite similar to Top Step. So the profit targets is kind of your standard $3,000, $6,000, and $9,000. Nothing crazy about it, but it is lower than the expert plan. Now, if we go over to the expert plan, you can see that the profit targets are at 8% for each one. So 4K, 8K, and $12,000. The drawdowns are still going to stay the way they were, just like on the starter. It's at 4% and the rest is at 3%. So keep in mind that the expert is a little bit more of a push to a higher profit target. But in essence, it's an overall appealing package that has less restrictions for payouts, for the way you trade, for scaling, and all that stuff. So it's just overall a really great thing. You just got to prove that you're able to essentially get to that profit target to earn a funded account. Now, switching gears over to the activation fee, probably one of my shortest slides of this deck is that the starter plan is the only one that has an activation fee of a one-time $149. It's $149 flat for any account size in the starter plan, and that is it, because the expert plan does not have any activation fee. So it definitely is a really nice clutch. So if you were to take the 24% off the 165, I think I'm paying like $125, $126. And if I were to pass that evaluation, then I don't have an activation fee. I just paid the 125, 126, and that's it. So it's a really, really good deal. If you're able to prove, that you're able to pass it, it's just a really great steal. Now here's the bread and butter of the video, which is the payout policy rules. Now, it took me some time to realize that the payout policy of MFFU is actually one of the best out there. And the reason I say that is because if you were to go ahead and get your funded account today and take your very first trade, from that moment, the 14 calendar days start, right? But if you were to take one trade, two trades, three trades, whatever, on one day, and let's say you just make $2,000, right? At that point, you can just stop trading that account. If you want to trade, you can, but it's not required to have a certain amount of trading days in order to qualify for a payout. So that in itself already relieves some of the pressure and the stress of thinking that you have to have, an active trading day, that you have to place trades and hold it for a certain amount of time in order to qualify for a payout. That's just one less rule that you have to worry about. So I think that is just a beautiful touch to the overall package, and I just can't believe it took me this long to realize that it's a really great policy. So on the left-hand side, it's going to be applicable for both of the starter and extra plans. And on the right, as you can see, this is only applicable for the starter. But the minimum request for a payout is $1,000. It takes between 1 to 3 business days for your payout to appear in your bank account. They do process payouts Monday to Friday until 3 p.m. Central Time. And you are able to keep the first $10,000, and then after it's a 90-10 split. Now we are going to go over an example as to when the 90-10 split applies right away, but that'll be in just a few minutes here. So for the starter plan only, there is the consideration of a 40% consistency rule. So with this rule, it basically means your best day of profits cannot exceed 40% of the total account balance. Now, other companies out there, we have Top Step at 50% consistency when it comes to just the combine, not the funded account. And then you have another company like Apex, who's very popular, of a 30% consistency rule, but it's not a hard rule, it's a soft rule, which means that it's not like straight edge. If you have more than 30%, they're not going to pay you out. In the event that they see you are way above, their 30% at Apex, they may or may not reach out to you to confirm what your trading system is, what your trading style is, to make sure you're not doing like any windfall trades, right? So it's not like a hard set rule. It's just in the event that they reach out, or in the event that they deny you because of that reason, you can just contact customer service to talk it through. So I would like to think and say that MFFU has a pretty standard 40% consistency rule. I know Elite Trader Funding has 40%. I do believe another company has a consistency rule, but there's some out there that are a little bit more stricter with your consistency. And with MFFU, it's stated in their help center that if you are exceeding it, they will not pay you out. So if you want to see if there's any like rare occasions or situations, feel free to contact the customer support about it. But otherwise, that's kind of like the fine law that is right here. Now, the next thing is the safety threshold. To reach the safety threshold, it's going to be whatever your specific account's drawdown amount is plus $100. So to go back to that same example on the starter plan of the 50K, we have the drawdown max at $2,000. So you need $2,000 plus 100, so you need $2,100 in order to reach the safety threshold to fulfill this requirement. But as I mentioned earlier, there's a chance where you might have the 90-10 split before you ever get your first $10,000. And it's in the situation as to when you want to withdraw profits before you hit your safety threshold. So using the same 50K example, let's say that you don't want to reach $2,100 to reach the safety threshold. Let's say you're at like $1,500, but you want to take profits out. Where you do have the ability to do so, you can actually take up to 60% of whatever profits are in your account at a 90-10 split. But the thing you have to realize is that once you do make your withdrawal, then your account is going to come straight down to $0 and be listed at $0. So don't freak out at that point. If you have any questions about what your drawdown amount is, I would recommend to talk again to customer service or a moderator in the Discord chat. And then finally, for starter plan, there is capped withdrawals. So the maximum withdrawal you're able to have for the first 45 days is going to be whatever your account drawdown is. Using the same example of the 50K starter, the max drawdown is $2,000. So every 14 calendar days on a starter funded account, you could take up to $2,000 out. And then after 45 days, you can take out a bunch load of money if you want, whatever's available. That's up to you. And then lastly, to kind of reiterate that the extra plan is amazing because there's no like crazy extra rules that you have to worry about. It's just simply respecting the end of day drawdown. Minimum request is $1,000. And that's it. So I want to say before I move on to the next slide that in my opinion, I do believe that the extra plan is just a much better overall package from the pricing point to what's included to the less restrictions. It just makes a lot more sense. And that in fact is the reason why it costs a little bit more money. Based on what I've like heard and kind of seen from MFFU and other people is that having a little bit more of a premium package, expert plan in this case, compared to the starter plan, which is kind of like the basic plan, it kind of separates the two kinds of categories, right, of traders. And I think that's more than okay because at that point, you're already attracting different audiences. So not only is it a very smart business, like marketing tactic or strategy or whatever, but also it gives traders the option of what kind of style they want to go for, right? So someone like me who maybe should consider the starter plan, I really like the expert plan. And that's one of my goals this year is to be a funded trader in the expert plan because of how well built the overall package is. The only thing I would say for improvement for the starter plan is just the 40% consistency rule. I think it would be great if they're able to either increase it or maybe even get rid of it, something like that. I think that'd be really neat. But that's kind of like any company that has a consistency percentage on their funded account. I always would prefer, like that's just my feedback, prefer funded accounts with no consistency rule. If they had to put a consistency rule, put it on the eval, because at the eval level, you're not making money anyways. You're just trying to pass to become funded. At the funded level, you can actually take payouts. So that's the only thing I'll have to say about that one. And then now going over the trader dashboard, I'll actually link somewhere on the screen here where I talked and actually walked through the trader dashboard. It was one of my recent videos in January of this year, but essentially it's a very well put together, excellent dashboard. Now, I'm not sure if every trader out there is into, the aesthetics of how certain things look, OCD, website design, all that. But I will have to say that this dashboard is not only very simple to use, you're able to easily locate everything, so the user interface is great, but also the time, speed, like the efficiency of when you click on one tab to the next and etc. It's very, very smooth. So my funded futures, the development team behind the dashboard did a phenomenal job. I do want to say that this is my number one favorite dashboard out there. So shout out to you guys for that. Took me some time also to compare all the dashboards, see which one that I prefer the most. And it just so happens that they definitely are. So awesome work. I don't know if I missed that they have a journal section. I have to take a look again. But if they don't, I think that would probably be the only thing to include. But if they already have it, then go ahead and scratch that. So, anyways, you can see this is one of my accounts that I failed. So don't mind that too. But you can see that they have literally all the stats you'll need. If you scroll down even more, which I show in the video, you can see like a calendar. You can see like your, I think it's your risk to reward, your profit factor, every single trade you've taken, everything. And then also leaderboard, so that's updated as well to show like the top traders out there and how much money they have in their account type of thing. So it's very just inclusive. Everything is where you need it to be, and you don't have to scroll like 10 hours in order to find something. And that leads me into the final piece, which is suggestions for improvement. So I've already said my piece about the consistency and then about the trader dashboard. If there isn't already a journal section, then to have that. But for the most part, there's not really anything else that I would feel could improve MFFU at this time. And the reason I say that is because, well, one, they are still pretty new. They've only been around for a couple of months, has not been 1 year yet. And even during the last few months of them being active and launched, they've actually been actively letting traders know that they are making changes, that this is what they can possibly expect, and getting people's feedback during Q&As, during live sessions, during, the Discord server rooms and everything. So I've been definitely watching MFFU, keeping like a close eye on all the things that they've been doing, because I wholeheartedly believe that MFFU is going to just do great, that they're going to blow up, and that they're going to just keep moving up on the ladder. So, great work to MFFU. I don't know if they're even watching this, and if they are, I mean, you guys are doing amazing. And if you're not, that's fine. So, anyways, I just want to now wrap it all up with comparing the launch date to this very moment right now, because it's really crazy to see full circle how much work they actually put in to make MFFU what it is today. So, if you weren't around prior to the official launch date in summer of 2023, essentially it was chaos. Chaos in the sense of kind of like banter between different companies, like other future prop firm companies, banter between the traders of those competitor companies versus MFFU. We have the forex traders that were starting to spill over into futures. So those people were starting to defend my funded futures because they came from my funded forex. And even just the general population of forex traders were starting to like spill over because of all the craziness with my forex funds. And there's just so much going on. At the same time, MFFU was trying to go head to head with Top Step, right? And then Top Step had dropped the one step one rule, all of the changes in their company, the payouts, just the pricing, everything. And then we add on Tradeovate and TradingView with all of the issues they were having too. So when you kind of pickle together all of these different nuances and events, it just added to the launch date, it added to the kind of discrepancies that were happening along the way. And when the actual launch date occurred, after 2 or 3 times where they said that they were going to do it but then they didn't, then they finally launched, it wasn't the biggest like drop, if that makes any sense. When you listen to music and there's a really great drop that's about to happen, or you're super hungry and just that one sip of cold water is just going to hit different. It didn't hit the way that people were expecting it to. Now, don't get me wrong, there was still a lot of positive comments, but then there was also the fair share of constructive criticism and negative feedback that was being shared at the same time. And because of all of that was occurring, MFFU, they didn't shy away from it at all. They actually took accountability for what had happened during the launch day. And I respect them so much for it. So I bring up that story because they continue to take those, both the negative feedback, the positive feedback, they put it together, and they kept on just building the company and building the company. And here we are today, where I do believe, like, my mind, since the beginning, I always thought they were going to be big. But then when that happened, I just wasn't sure. But I still stuck with them anyways because I felt like they wanted to actually make a difference in the future space. And to this day, I still believe that. And so that's why, present day, I'm continuing to put my belief in them that they're going to just do great. So, I'm not getting paid to say any of this. This is just my honest opinion from my experience for the last almost 1 year of just, seeing the company build prior to the launch, during the launch, right now. And who knows, they might be out here to really change the world. So the last thing I'm going to say to go ahead and wrap up the video is that they stated before launch day that their goal was to really make some change in the futures prop firm space. They're a sister company of a huge, huge forex company, my funded forex. And they already have the backing, they have the experience, they have the development team, they have kind of a nice foundation to bring over into the future space and start to implement the necessary changes to essentially create competition between all the prop firm companies. And as I've said many times, the more competition there is between the competitors, the more opportunity there is for us traders. So hopefully MFFU continues to just go with the punches, go through the momentum, and keep making just the space better. I'm really excited for it. That is going to be my final thoughts about MFFU. Again, not being paid to say any of that. I just want to share my honest opinion. And if you guys did enjoy the video, or you're enjoying the prop firm review series so far, feel free to drop a big thumbs up. Make sure you do subscribe because it is the beginning of 2024. There's just so much that's going to happen. But I appreciate your time and support. And as always, I wish you nothing but the best and most success in everything you do. And I'll see you all in the next video.